So here we are. It's the last paddle, the last stretch. And Cliffs of Moher, I'd done my recce around there in my previous trip, and I'd got myself a bit nervous about it because even on a flat day, the swell's really big and the cliffs are really high. There's nowhere to get out between Doolin Pier and Liscannor. And anyway, I wanted company, so I managed to get my kayaking friends to join me. It's just so hard trying to get a day that suits everybody. And then you're really relying on the weather to be good on that day. So, I did the last paddle in August, and with the soonest, the first date that we could get that suited everybody was going to be, in fact, I think I was even trying to get a date for Cliffs of Moher at the start of from the start of the summer. So it was literally the last weekend in September was the only weekend that everybody was free. So it's great having company, but it's very hard to get a time that suits everyone. And where normally I just been scanning the weather, and when I see a really good spell, I'll head off, get in the car, load up, and head off. This time we're really, it's a case of, right, we've got a day that suits everybody. It's really like fingers crossed we get good weather. Like, can everything come into alignment for this? Otherwise, we're pushing into October. We've got shorter days. There's going to be bigger swells, more storms. Really hoping to get this done now. So, anyway, have some more trip. So I'm doing my research. Cliffs of Moors are approximately 14 kilometres long, 9 miles, and stretch along the west coast of County Clare, starting at Liscannor in the south and ending in Doolin in the north. Breakdown southern end near Liscannor is the cliffs begin at Hag's Head. They rise 120 metres. And I was also given information that there's a big swell off the southern end cliffs and to stay well clear of those. So local knowledge told me that. And also I'd been in touch with my friend Al Many, big wave surfer, who had happened to just been there a few days before. I think I contacted him on the Friday, and he had been surfing in the waves there on the Tuesday. So that was fantastic. I'm so glad I thought of asking him about it, because he said heading out was going to be really tricky from Doolin Pier around that Crab Island, and then the southern end, people had said to watch out because there's big waves. So and then the northern end is where the cliffs continue to Doolin, where they reach their maximum height of 214 meters, so 702 feet. Can you imagine that? And that's just north of O'Brien's Tower. So you can kind of see that in the picture at the top there, O'Brien's Tower. O'Brien's Tower is located near the midpoints of the cliffs, and this roundstone tower offers stunning views. So I was kind of hoping that, Richard and Jack possibly will be looking out at the watchtowers and things as we paddle along below. Now you can see how nice and flat and calm it is in that picture. I don't know if it's going to be as nice and calm. So this is Doolin Pier, Doolin Ferry. This is the route. Now I measured it out. For me, paddle boarding, it was going to be about just short of 12 miles, 11.7 miles from Doolin. So, in theory, that shouldn't really take very long if it was just a nice flat calm stretch. It usually takes me about average at about 4 miles an hour. So that would be about a 3 hour paddle. So in my head, I was thinking a 3 hour paddle, but that's not bad. But in the end, whenever we put it into the maps to see how long it was taking, it was saying 6 hours, and we were thinking, what? Because then you're dealing with the wind. Once you're adding in the elements of the wind and the current, it went from about a 4 hour paddle to 6 hours of not being able to get out anywhere, if you change your mind. So starting to get a bit nervous about the whole thing. There it's saying 11.78 miles, the scanner. So starting to have a look at the conditions, this is probably earlier in the week, scanning just to see, is it going to work on Saturday? Can we do Saturday? You can see it's going to be high tide in the morning. It's first light at about 7:30 in the morning. So, and it's high tide at 8:30. So launching from Doolin Pier should be, I think it would be quite good. Oh, I'd pulled a couple of cards, Wheel Spirit, Trust the Great Mystery, and Play. May you seek out fun and connection. I just pulled these two cards and I really like them. Look at those dolphins and they're gorgeous. So anyway, back to the route and also just looking at the so this is Savvy Navi that I've been finding really helpful to figure out the wind and the tide and everything. Now, this is what it was showing earlier in the week. This is the wind, which is in blue is always good because it's really low, 9, 7s. You can see that on Saturday morning. Now, we didn't get that in the end, but it was looking at that like that at one point. It was like, yes, happy days, looking good. Nice and dry, it doesn't really matter. But I think I took these, I was looking at, this is the tide. So you can see how the tides come affecting, you know, you can see how it changes the arrows as the day progresses. So that last one was, this is all morning, like around 8:40, about 9. This is around about high tide. You can see the tide is sort of pushing it into the shore towards the rocks. Basically, this is all Cliffs of Moher is right down here. This is all high cliffs. And so there's nowhere to get out except for here and here. So to get this all done, and it's looking like a 6-hour paddle. So just having a look, and now you can see 11 o'clock how, because we're wondering what's it going to be like when we come around here. We might get a bit of a push with the tide. You don't want to be paddling against the tide, certainly anyway. So if possible, not too sure how this. So sort of looking at the route, this is the swell. And you can see for the Saturday, I mean, it's showing there 22-mile-an-hour winds, and you're looking at 3 to 5 foot swell the minute. But look how the wind is all over the place. It's really high, and then it just drops off in the morning, and then it all turns quite westerly. Westerly's not great because that's onshore and that's into the rocks. And then this is it as each day the weather's changing slightly. So this is as we're getting closer to the date. I'm looking at the map again, and now it's showing I think the waves are going to swell's looking a little higher. And there it keeps changing. It's jumped up now. We're getting closer to the day, and now it's showing stronger winds. Green is still doable, but you'd really want that on your back, not paddling against it. So you can see we're going to have crosswinds. So the wind is going to be kind of blowing us into those cliffs, which I don't really like the thought of, but the current's going to be pulling us down. So we're studying this and thinking, is this going to be safe? Obviously that's the most important thing. And then what's it going to be like when we get around this corner? Like this is what they're saying, big waves here and tricky getting out here. So in my mind, I'm thinking we need to be right out here, coming into Liscannor, like in the middle of the bay. But who knows what we're going to find when we come around here, because we're going to be coming into the tide probably, and we've got these crosswinds, so who knows. Anyway, setting off to Doolin. But we've got somewhere to stay anyway at Doolin Pier, and I'm going anyway, regardless. If the weather is, if we decide not to do it, that's fine. I'll just make it into a wee trip of exploring, but it would just be really good to get it done as well. Anyway, it's a 5.5-hour drive. Thankfully, my friend Ailish had put me in touch with Martoni, who was as a local Coast Guard, and I had already been in touch with him just to say that what I was doing. It's always good just to present what you're doing and then hear what they have to say about it. So, local Coast Guard, what's he going to say? So I told him weeks ago, like on my last paddle, probably in the summer, that this is going to be the last, I was coming up to the Cliffs of Moher paddle, and what do you think? And he had actually said at that time when I did the last paddle, it was so flat And I remember even thinking, oh, so good if I could just get that done now. But I was so tired and I couldn't have done it by myself. I needed company, but it was pristinely flat. And he had said, it's so good right now. And I'm like, I know, but I can't do it right now. So anyway, I just got back to it and I'm like, right, it looks like looking like Saturday. And he got back and he said, it's looking a little breezy around the cliffs, nothing major, which was like, phew. Sunday looks very good, but in general, good weather. I will be looking out for you at the weekend. So Saturday was going to be the day because it suited everybody. And you know what, like I said, all of a sudden, where Sunday was looking quite good, it's all switched to Saturday looking like the better day. Like you really don't know until like the night before even what you're going to get. So here we are down Doolin Pier. This is as work. This supposed to be a lot of currents around this crab island. Al had been saying that this is tricky. And I'd seen the pier anyway, so I knew it was not a very appealing pier to be launching from. Anyway, this is up in the morning, and there's a double rainbow. It's a nice sign leaving the house. The guys have got the van. I've got Andy and Tony, and I'm so glad that they were able to come and join me. Andy had been on a few trips with me. We'd done Sleeve League, which is the sister cliffs to the Cliffs of Moher, slightly smaller cliffs in Donegal, and we'd also done Donegal Bay, and we did Achill Sound, and Tony had joined us for Donegal Bay. So there we go. Look at that lovely rainbow, and there's the van all kitted out, and the guys. Thank goodness, I've got the guys. And Tony's driving. He's from Sligo. He's come down from Sligo, and he's coming from the north coast, like me. And I'm nervous, very nervous. Getting ready, loading up. We are at Doolin Pier. You can see the ferry over here. And we've just spoken to the Coast Guard. And we're going to have to go out here, which is a bit lumpy and bumpy today. But, well, it's the best that we can do. Look at that. We decided we would go out, and if we didn't like it, we'd come back in and make the decision quite quickly. Otherwise, we were going to have to stay out there for 6 hours of paddling. And hopefully that was the worst case scenario and it wouldn't be that long. But you can see this is, there's a lot of movement around here in the water. We're going to have to head out here. You can see waves breaking around the island. There's a lot of sort of currents moving around here. Tricky start. But I spoke to the Coast Guards. There was no small craft warning or anything like that. And I'd spoken to the local Coast Guard. I'd gained some local knowledge. Even those guys here, I'd stopped and said hello to them, who were coming out with their boats, and they said, their advice was stay clear of the south-facing cliffs at the end. So I was a bit worried about those last cliffs, the last corner. So I think we've already done this one. So here I am. It's the last leg, although I'm not going to be too hung up about it being the last part of my paddle. It's very exciting. I'm at Doolin Pier, and I've got kayakers, Andy and Tony with me today for support. And we're going to head out. We're at Doolin Pier. Now it's it's not a smooth paddle out. There's a bit of swell today. It's October, no, September, sorry, 27th of September. And we've got a bit of crosswind, which isn't great, but it's low wind. And I think we're hopefully going to get a bit of a push of the tide down and around. So wish us luck. Here goes. Cliffs of Moher. So it's westerly wind, which isn't great. It's onshore wind means it's going to be like the sea. If it's offshore, it's generally nice and smooth. That's pushing you out to sea, obviously. But if it's onshore, it's lumpy, bumpy, and it's pushing you in towards the cliffs. So that's not great. And it's also looking at about 13 mile an hour, which is up there, the maximum range. And then you've also got you've got, 4 to 5 foot swell in a really big swell area, which is great. It's not great, but everyone's been okay with it. Nobody's turned around and said you can't go out today. Like, you totally nuts. Nobody said that. So we thought, right, we'll give it a try. So this is the guys kind of on the kayaks. Now I launched quickly onto my board. I literally just, it's easy for a paddleboard. You just hop on. And so I hopped on and paddled out. And literally it was pretty nuts getting round that first island, Crab Island. I got round the island and then I turned back to see the guys. I could see the guys, but I could also see the ferry taking off too. And it was just, you could see how the ferry was being knocked around in the sea. And I think the guys got a real drenching from the ferry going past them with the wake from that. And we got out around here. Now we just seem to naturally take slightly separate routes. For me and my longboard, racing board, it was easier for me just to keep going out to sea. And I actually just wanted to be out there because I felt safer out there. I didn't want to get sucked in too close to those base of those cliffs. So I was just heading, it just was for me the easiest thing to do was point out to sea and paddle because the swell was going literally, I was paddling out to sea, but the tide was pushing me down. So I was covering the coast, but there was just, it was not a photo opportunity. I had to really concentrate on what I was doing and I couldn't take my camera out. I barely got to put the GoPro on because again, I had to lean forward to do that. But I got a bit of video footage. It was a bit nuts. And I kind of thought, am I going to be able to do this for like 8 hours, 6 hours? You can see how the tide is, the swell, it's not flat. You can see this waves coming underneath me. And this is the top end by Doolin. So this is the watchtower, which is sort of midway along. And I'm trying to take some photos. I didn't see the guys. I haven't seen them. I looked down and then I saw another ferry. The guys, I did see the guys sort of like the base around here. And I saw the other guy, I saw another ferry coming out and I thought, oh my gosh, like that ferry, it doesn't even, it's the ferries are being bashed around so much. You're like, do they even see the kayakers there? I don't even know. And I was just like, please, I hope they're going to be okay. I just wanted to be well clear of all that. So I was way out here. Now, I did think a few times, like, this is such a shame. I'm not going to get any decent photos of the Cliffs of Moher. That's them there. And you can see the watchtower on the top. But I mean, it would be amazing to be up close and taking photos, but I just didn't fancy being down there. That's the watchtower. Um, Started to take my camera out. This is towards the end, coming up towards the south facing cliffs, I think. Oh, maybe still the middle. It seemed to go on for hours. And it was just, constant dealing with every time I thought I got to a place where I wouldn't get knocked in with the waves, I would take out my camera. Cliffs of Moher. Sea's really wild, so I'm not stopping for long. And I was excited. It would be so good to get this finished. But look at the sea. Cliffs of Moher. Crazy swell. It was a bit nuts, a bit nuts. Anyway. You can just about see through the waves. Anyway, I stuck the camera on towards me. You can see me. Like I knelt for 6 hours and I was just being trying to negotiate all these waves the whole time. Get the idea anyway. And so I've got these radios on now. The VHF was working. I could hear the Coast Guard. So I think they have good connection down here. For the Wi-Fi for the but our little small radios weren't working. So we couldn't actually contact each other. And I actually couldn't even take my phone out to check to see if they've been trying to call me. So this was hours of being by myself and not seeing them. I only had seen them at the start. And I'm going down this little stretch of some more you can see just It's pretty exhausting. There's the Cliffs of Moher in the background. Anyway, I think they were starting to get really worried about me. Look at that. I think this is me coming, maybe coming around the last corner, and I'm finally getting my phone out. And look at the waves. And I'm looking down quickly, glancing down at my phone, and I'm seeing missed calls from Richard. So I quickly FaceTime him, and he's used to my calls from the sea, especially I can't let go of my paddle. It'll be gone. I can't let go of, I've got to concentrate because I'm being knocked around by the sea. So it's a fast call. I'm like literally, what's going on? And he's like straight away, he's like, the guys are worried about you. They haven't seen you. You haven't answered your phone. And I was like, all right. And then I looked down. I was like, oh, missed calls. So I very quickly called the guys. I don't think I got through straight away. And sometimes that can be really frustrating when you finally got trying to get through to somebody and you're getting bounced around in the sea. You want to make the calls really short and sharp. I had my radio on. I was really hoping I was going to hear from them on the radio. And anyway, I finally got through and I spoke to Andy and he's like, I think it was a massive relief because I think they were starting to get worried about me. That they're usually faster than me, so they had been ahead of me and then they hadn't seen me and then they'd turn back. But actually I was further on round than they expected. So I was just turning. This is towards the south facing cliffs, I think, around here. And it's fine. I mean, it's wild, but I was actually able to, the wind was going to push me in, and I was actually able to do a bit of hands-free quick calling. So I sent them a couple of pictures of where I was. This is a bit further on inside. That's not quite the right one. Maybe a bit out of place. But this is me in the sea. So I sent them this. Yeah, this was I sent them a quick picture of where I was so they could see. So you can see here, there's Spanish Point and Hinch Beach is just down here. So here we are. So I sent them another picture. This is where I am now. So finally, probably just around here, the guys caught up with me and we paddled in together. And actually, we weren't sure what we were going to get here. This bit, it could have been even worse than out here. Now, the waves were massive around the south here, but as we were coming in, Um, thankfully, the wind was on our back finally, and it felt like that we had the tide going with us. So although it was up and down, it was all going in the right direction, and I could just feel like I could start to relax a little bit. My muscles in my back and my shoulders. Here are the guys. So nice to actually have their company. We'd only seen each other for a glimpse at the start, and then the last couple of hours. It took us a couple of hours to paddle in too. I felt we'd made good progress getting down. See, this is what it's like for them. This is not a beginner paddle at all. Thankfully, I'm chalked up now at this point. It's been about 11 years paddling around the coast. So I know intuitively what I can and can't handle. And if I couldn't handle that, I wouldn't have gone, but I just sort of felt I could. And look at that cool picture. See, I think it was literally only when we got around to this bit, even though there was massive waves down here at the foot, we were all able to kind of stop for a second and look and see what's going on with everybody. But, wow. And this is the last stretch on the way in, and this was just a relief coming in. Just like the sea doesn't look, but it was way better than it was. And then this is us. This is me that coming into the harbour. You can see across here. This is the other side. So the Spanish Point and everything's over there. And this was our actual route. So you can see it took us 4 hours 42, so just under 5 hours. So it wasn't bad. At least we had it in our heads. It could have been up to 6 hours, but it wasn't that long. And Yeah. What a paddle. What a way to finish. It was one of those paddles where you just sort of feel like I don't really want to do this ever again. So it's quite a good way to come in, just thinking like, I'm done. I'm really done with this. I was kind of gutted. I didn't just able to take photos, but
Well done, Jen. It's all over. Completion. How does it feel?
I have literally been sweating it in my wetsuit. So in this last little stretch, I pulled the wetsuit down. It was like a boil in the bag from all the paddling because it is September, so it's not freezing cold, but I've got all my cool gear on because I don't want to get blisters on my hands. I had my gloves on. Don't want to get blisters on my toes when I'm kneeling, so I've got my boots on. I've got my full wetsuit on, and I'm literally paddling the whole time, so I'm sweating. So as we were coming in here, I was like, I so dehydrated. I needed to, so I rolled down my wetsuit just to get a bit of cool air, and then and I stood because my legs were so sore. I don't even know how I stood because I'd been kneeling that whole entire time. That's me coming in. That's me trying to get
Well done. Is that it? Is that it? Over.
wrecked. Just
Well done.
totally wrecked.
Timed the tide coming into the harbour very well.
So yeah, it's now low tide. It's completely different from the last time I was here. It was a nice
Well
high
done.
tide.
Well done, Annie. Thanks for your help.
I'm so grateful for the guys. It was a crazy paddle, and I would not have been able to do that without having their company. And yeah, and it's always going through my head, I'm not putting anybody else at risk as well doing this. Here we are, the scanner. Just coming in from doing Cliffs of Moher. Totally wrecked. I was kneeling the whole time for about 4 hours through crazy swell, dodging waves. And I did see a dolphin. I saw a dolphin. It went punching through a wave beside me, which was very exciting. But the weather it was so nuts out there. I didn't even stop to take any photos of the Cliffs of Moher. I don't know. It'd be nice to do it another time when it's totally flat, but I feel like I've ticked the box now. Anyway, it's been brilliant. Really enjoyed. Thank you so much for Andy and Tony that joined me today in kayak. I wouldn't be able to do that by myself. And I've got Jack here helping me. As always, bring the boards in. So, and then Richard as well. Yay! Yeah, so really relieved. You know what? I'd pull that worker card. I'm telling people about my paddling. I've had one whale actually. We did see a whale at the sister Cliffs Sleeve League. A fin whale was quite close, and I had been worrying about seeing another whale going around the Cliffs of Moher. Also September, the birds are migrating. All the animals are starting to move around, to warmer waters. And I was kind of worried that I might see a whale, but you know what? And I was out in the middle of all those waves. I was like, there is absolutely nothing I could do if I saw a whale anyway. I'm literally paddling, one stroke at a time. But yeah, it was quite early on at the very start, just as I was heading out from Doolin. When I was looking around to sort of see where the guys were, I saw a fin in the water, but I knew it was like a dolphin fin, most likely, or porpoise, possibly. I could see it in the between me and the cliffs, not too far away. And I was thinking, oh, that's exciting. But again, I'm not going to be able to take a photo or anything. And also just wondering if there's any more. And anyways, paddling, paddling, paddling. And then shortly after, through these waves, which are sort of, they're not crashing around me, thankfully, but there's just a big swell coming up and down. And like a big swell came up, and a dolphin literally just, it felt like it was with a lot of power, like literally punched its way through the wave. Not that far from me, would be maybe 10 meters or something like that. And you could just see it just looked so strong and so agile. And I was like, wow, how cool. And then literally had a paddle. But I was also slightly worried, are there going to be any others jumping out? Because do they know that I'm here? But it was just the one dolphin. So that was a really nice surprise, which I also instantly soon it happened forgot about because I was too busy negotiating all the waves. I think I've already played this. Oh my gosh, that was crazy. Literally didn't take my camera out the whole time because Cliffs of Moher, big swell, about 5 foot swell, 13 miles an hour wind, making it all very lumpy and bumpy. And I don't even know if I got any photos of the Cliffs of Moher. I didn't even care about Cliffs of Moher. I was just too busy thinking, need to get around this, need to get around this. So anyway, I've done, that's me finished. Paddle around Ireland is complete. I think I'm the first woman to paddle around Ireland, so so glad to get that all finished. You know, it was just like it took me 11 years and it literally took up every holiday that we went on. Like my son Jack was like, let me guess, when I said we're on holiday, and he's like, are we, is it Donegal again? He thought all of Ireland's Donegal. Is it Donegal again, Mum? And are you paddleboarding? You know, so it was very nice of the guys coming with me all the time. And I think they enjoyed doing their other variety of things when we were there. We always like to play a wee bit of golf and do things that the guys like to do, swim in the sea and stuff like that. But it's not it's very tiring for me. It's not a holiday. Like I'm literally going from work, 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 and then on holiday I'm like up at dawn in the sea, like paddling for 6 hours. It's was taking its toll. I was getting really tired and stressed out. You know, I was probably a little burnt out doing it all the time, constantly checking the weather and just this kind of inner drive to just get it done. Just want to get it done, just want to get it done, you know, keep going. Because and then constantly like telling people that I'm gonna go and do this and everyone's like, oh, you mad? You know, it's an 8 hour drive and blah 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 blah. And you know, it was, you know, coming up towards the end when I was really keen to get it all finished, I was heading off by myself. You know, it was very tiring, long drives, carrying the board every day, in the sea every day. But anyway, finally, here we are. The scanner just coming in from doing Cliffs of Moher. Totally wrecked. I was kneeling the whole time for about 4 hours through crazy swell, dodging waves. So I've done that one before there. I'm carrying it out and having some bubbly just to celebrate. And Jack's holding the paddleboard down because it's so windy. It's like sit on the
Well
board.
done. Well done. Thanks, Andy. Well done. But Tony hiding right in there.
Oh, it was so good. I think we were all just relieved that everyone was safe and sound and out.
Congratulations, Jen. Massive achievement.
Well done. That's it.
No more.
Cheers, well done. Well done.
Oh, talk about sore arms, sore legs. I think there's Tony and Richard having a chat. Andy. Oh, thank goodness for the guys joining me. And thanks to all, you know, everyone that's joined me in the past, the other the rescue boats that have joined me. I had Jerry Meehan at the start with his rescue boat. I've had Karen Mitchell doing medic. I had Joyce Further Rankin doing photography, and big thank you to all of them. The very first paddle. And then I've had Dave and Adam Bustard helping me with the rescue boat when I was going to Donegal and back. That was like during COVID trips and things like that. And a big thank you to Richard and Jack for doing, you know, sitting in the car, driving me around the countryside, dropping me in, picking me up. That's it. And then driving back sort of went back over towards Doolin to where we were staying, and went down to the Doolin Pier because we had to pick up the guys, the van was there, and you can see there's a ferry coming in. So you can see that current one, the ferry that out there, that was the tricky bit. We had to paddle out, and it was a last minute call. I decided to go around the back of the island because that's the way the ferries were coming in. Because this side, you can just about see over here, and there was waves breaking here. So I just thought, in my mind, I was just further out, the better. And that's them heading out to Island. You can see a bit more closer up. This is Crab Island. You can see the currents here, making it tricky. And there's the waves breaking at this end. And then that's the stretch. And it looks so calm and nice now. It doesn't feel like that when you're out there, but that was the stretch from the tallest cliffs right down to the watchtower. And just a massive relief to get that all done. There's the Coast Guard. Yeah, and also the number 9 was coming up. In Kundalini yoga, quite often they look at numerology, and the number 9 comes up, and we happened to came up quite a lot because well, I'd been aware of it because they talked about number 9 meaning completion and sort of fulfillment and completion, and just randomly so happened we were staying at number 9 in Doolin Court. This was great accommodation. And this is the area that we were staying in. This is Doolin, beautiful little place, really loved it. So it was, by the time we went back, ventured back out to get some food and some checked out the local pub, it was quite late. So that was the sunset. I think this is the next day, going out for a walk, maybe the same night. Oh yes, this is the pub. This is the first night. We went into this week. Look how busy it is. And that's us. Yes. And then somebody sent me this in the middle of it all, how it's good for stress, Kundalini yoga. A form of yoga suitable for beginners involves chanting, singing, breathing, exercise, and meditation with instructors. So that's the yoga group. We're also asked to do 20 minutes. So that I have my group doing 20 minutes of Kundalini yoga every day, but I'm just saying how good it's for stress. Thank goodness I had it because it did help me with all of my stress and my aches and pains. And the meditation is so helpful for staying focused. You know, I had to really stay focused getting this all done and complete. Yes, that's saying about do something, anything badly, aiming for perfection. Again, with my paddle around Ireland, it probably wasn't all perfect. Even putting these videos together isn't all perfect, but if you aim for perfectionism, you could possibly end up feeling in a rut and procrastinating and not doing it. So I just took the plunge and did all of this. And so the next day it was the guys' turn to do something nice. So we were out in the golf course, which was great because you can actually we can see the route quite well again from here on the course. You can see those rolling waves. And you can see this is the next day. Now the wind had picked up, although the swell had dropped down a bit. And there's the number 9 popping up again. Look, 5 and 4 make 9. We'd done this on the 27th of September. So September is the 9th month to 2025. If you add up 2, 2 and 5, that makes 9. And it was the 27th, 7 and 2 makes 9. So there's all these 9s. 9, I took a picture of 9 on the golf course. 9 meaning completion. So it felt like it was the right day for me to do that. And then we also did a little trip back down to Fanor. I wanted the guys to come down to the beach here again. And this is Fanor, and this is the burn. I do love to say I got very fond of the burn. This is parked up. And it talks about the local birds and animals. Actually, I did see a little hare behind that hedge. And there we go. That's the sort of stretch. I'd paddled this last time, but this takes you up the Cliffs of Moher around that corner. It's Doolin. Happiness comes in waves like that as well. This is it's a surf beach, so there's a lot of people come down and really enjoy the surf out here. There's Jack running in. Richard. We all went for a swim, and this was us on the road again. Lovely sunset, and then we head back to get some music. So I have to say, I've got very fond of Ireland, and I feel like I know the Irish coastline pretty well now. And I have to say, I've really enjoyed being home and exploring all around the Irish coast. There's tons of places I want to go back to and do some more paddle boarding. And there's lots of places. I just love the balance of the two things. You can go out and be outdoors, but you can also just go in and stay inside by the fire. Love the peat fires, chill out, really lovely people, good company. There we are. We've had a really good time. We have had a good time too. Richard's always saying, do you remember we stayed in that place and this place? So that's us. Complete. So as I said, just big thank you to everybody who sponsored me for the RNLI and everybody that's supported me along this journey. Thank you so much. Really appreciate all the kayakers who've been out with me. And we also had Matt and Maya and all the help from people in the background who have been constantly messaging and asking, like Al, Minnie, and just getting local knowledge from people, and the other rescue boats that I've had along the way too have all been fantastic. So big thank you.